Thanks, Dave. So, hi. Hi, good evening, everyone. Okay, so let me just, okay. So, hi, everyone. I'm Justine, and tonight I will be presenting to you my findings on the dam problem. Okay, no pun intended there. So, if you remember, if you're an avid reader of news, you'll remember last March 4, Manila Water announced that there was gonna be an El Nino contingency plan. Okay, so essentially what this means is that there was gonna be a water interruption in selected cities and barangays in Metro Manila. Okay, so I think these cities were Taguig, Pasig. Okay, so it was announced March 4, but it was a one-day notice. So the water interruption was gonna be March 6. So may one-day notice naman. But actually, come March 5, the following day, okay, so there was an unannounced water interruption. Okay, so it was announced, but it was on very short notice. Okay, so essentially it was unannounced. Okay, so there was an unannounced water interruption in the cities of Angono, Binangonan, Taytay, and San Mateo. Okay, so that was not announced way before. And then come March 6, so as they have announced earlier, the planned water interruption went ahead in the cities of Taguig, Pasig, Marikina, and so on. Okay, and as you all know, the following days, the list of barangays and cities just got bigger and bigger. Okay. And well, to be honest, at first I wasn't really aware of the situation because I wasn't affected. Okay, so I only learned of, well, in my defense, I don't follow Manila Water's Facebook page and I don't tune into the news as much, especially during that time because I was a bit busy in my defense. Okay, but I only learned of the news through a friend. So a friend was complaining that there was no water service in their area. Okay, so at this point I was concerned, yeah, but not that concerned because I was not affected. Okay, and then come March 14, around March 13, 14, I got a hold of an announcement that my barangay, so Bel Air, Makati, was gonna be included in the list of those who were gonna have water interruptions. Okay, so that's the time I was really alarmed. I was panicking. I immediately went to the supermarket to buy gallons like this one. Okay, so I went to the supermarket, and when I got there, apparently, well, naturally, the water containers were all sold out because everyone was panic buying. Lucky enough, there were 2 remaining gallons on the shelf that at first they didn't want to sell. The kuya in the supermarket didn't want to sell it to me because it was damaged. There was a dent and then the caps were missing. But eventually I negotiated and negotiated until he got fed up and he sold the water gallons to me. Okay, so was anyone else affected with the water interruption? Raise of hands, who was? Okay, okay, quite a lot. Okay, so it wasn't just you, it wasn't just me, it wasn't just us. Okay, so there were 1.2 million other households who were affected by this water supply shortage. Okay, and naturally, if you were one of those affected by this shortage, your reaction is, why? Why me? Why did this happen of all days? Okay, well, it shouldn't happen in the first place. Okay, and if maybe you're an opinionated, concerned citizen, your question is, who made this happen? Who is to blame? Who should I blame? Right? But if you're a data-oriented person like me, and I would assume most of us are in this room, we are after all in the database conference, alright? So if you're a data-oriented person, perhaps one of the questions that crossed your mind is, could this have been predicted ahead? Okay. So there are a lot of articles online by Rappler, ABS-CBN News, Business World Inquirer that tries to explain what really happened in this whole situation. There are even conspiracy theories circulating around social media as to why this particular situation happened. But today, my goal really is not to answer all these questions, okay? So today, my goal is to just to get an objective picture of what really happened, okay? Of course, using data, okay? So my perspective would be from the standpoint of a concerned citizen, okay? Someone who's an outsider, who doesn't have visibility on what's happening internally, okay? So all my findings, all my analysis today would be based on publicly available data, okay? From Pag-asa, from Manila Water, and Maynilad, okay? So to give you a context, majority of the water supply of Metro Manila comes from the Angat-Ipo-La Mesa Dam system. And then, so that contributes to 96% of our water supply. And then, some portions come from Laguna Lake and deep wells scattered across the metro. Okay? And to give you a background, this is how the Angat-Ipo-La Mesa Dam system works. So, water from the Sierra Madre Mountains, okay, mountain ranges, flows through to the Angat Dam. And then from Angat Dam, a certain percentage of that would flow through to the Ipo Dam. And then from the Ipo Dam, a certain percentage of water flows through to the La Mesa Dam. So this is just a simple process. Of course, within, there are a lot of more complicated process embedded in all these. But this is just the simply put, this is how the water flow is, okay? So, there are two companies that distributes water to us. So, it's Manila Water and Maynilad, okay? If you're from the East Zone, Manila Water is supplying your water, okay? So, Manila Water is assigned to the East concession. So, East, that would be QC, Pasig, Rizal, ayan. And then, of course, some portions in the West. And then, Maynilad services the West Zone. So, that's Caloocan, Parañaque, Las Piñas, ayan, and so on, okay? Every day, Angat Dam supplies 4 billion liters of water to Metro Manila. That's 4 billion liters. And then, 60% of that, or 2.4 billion, goes to Maynilad. Then, the rest, 1.6 billion liters, go to Manila Water. And then, but take note that this is where the difference comes in, okay, between Maynilad and Manila Water. Maynilad gets in a way, gets their water supply from Angat Dam. Okay, so from Angat Dam, the water flows through to Ipo Dam, and then from Ipo Dam, it goes through a portal that supplies directly to Maynilad. Okay, whereas for Manila Water, before the water gets to Manila Water, it goes to La Mesa Dam first, and then that's where Manila Water would get their water supply. Okay, so this is a key piece of information, and later on you will see why it's important to know that Maynilad gets their supply from Angat and then Manila from La Mesa. Given all this, why did this water shortage happen? Okay, so as a concerned citizen, one of the speculations would be, was it because of the El Nino? Of course, El Nino is a very big factor in all this because if there's no rain, there's no water. One other plausible thing could be, was there an unforeseen increase in consumption? Because, of course, population in Metro Manila grows every year exponentially. So that means more water demand. Or could it have been panic water hoarding? So I've been hearing this in the news. They said that when people learned of the scheduled water interruptions, they suddenly did panic water hoarding. So they hoarded water in preparation for the water interruption. Okay, so that could have been a factor. But that was already when the water interruption was announced. So that means there was a water shortage in the first place before this panic water hoarding began. Or could it have been water leakages? Okay, so sometimes water leakages happens when the water is getting distributed. Sometimes there are pipes that burst and then water leaks. Could there have been a massive water leakage that depleted water supply of Angat Dam and La Mesa Dam? Or is there a systemic leakage that has not been discovered yet or has not been resolved yet? Okay, so these are the plausible reasons. And to get to the bottom of this, of course, I need to have data. I looked online for data that I can use to investigate. And I found this data from Pag-asa. So every day, Pag-asa would report the water level of Angat, Ipo, and La Mesa Dam. Okay, so that water level is the height of the dam. So of course, the taller the height of the water is in the dam, that means the higher the supply of water. Okay, so essentially this is the elevation level in meters of the Angat Dam. Okay, the problem is this is a very nice chart actually. If you go to Pag-asa, this is an interactive chart. But unfortunately, the Excel or the CSV raw file is not available in their website. Okay, so that was my problem. And to extract the data from this, I used a web plot digitizer. So this is actually very useful if you have a chart that you want to extract data from. So all you need to do, so this is a free software online. All you need to do is take a screenshot of the chart you want to extract data from, and then you load it into the software, and then it will ask for you 2 points along the x-axis and 2 points along the y-axis. So you just need to plot those 2 known points, and then the system will try to calculate or will try to estimate the data, the value of the points based on the pixel of the picture. Okay, so it's very nice if you don't have the raw data. Okay, so I loaded the Pag-asa chart, and then this is what I got. Okay, so the elevation level of Angat Dam is for 2019 is currently below 2018 levels of the same period. Okay, so we're already below 2018 levels. Okay, but what I wanted to see is the organic trend, because what you're seeing here has an impact of seasonality. Okay, so of course during hot days or summer days, water supply is low because there's no rain, and then of course during rainy season it gets replenished. So I wanted to take out the effect of seasonality so that I could see the organic trend behind the data. Okay, so how do I do that? To do that, I use time series decomposition method. Okay, so apologies, I will get a bit technical here. So when you say time series decomposition, essentially it's just breaking down your time series data. Okay, so data is the sum of seasonality, trend, and remainder. Okay, when you think about it, okay, if this is your data, okay, that can be there's a natural trend behind it. Your data could be trending upwards or downwards. But then you will have to add seasonality there as well. Notice that after the data goes up, it goes down, and then it goes up again. So there's a cycle behind the data. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. So some data have that, a cycle. Okay. And then after taking out the trend and the seasonality, what remains is the residuals or the remainder. So usually what remains are the outliers or the rare events that happen that actually makes a dent to your data. They push up or pull down the data, but they are rare and they don't happen very often. That's why it's outliers. Okay. So I used the STL method for this. So it's a type of time series decomposition, and I performed the STL analysis on this data earlier. Okay, and this is what I got. Okay, so this is your seasonality, your trend, and your residuals or remainder. Okay, so what do we see here? Okay, So there seems to be a cycle every Jan to May. So every 5 months, there seems to be a repeating cycle. So it accumulates slowly and then it goes down, and then it accumulates slowly again, and then it goes down. So that's the cycle. And then let's look at the outliers. Yeah, there are certain events that pull up or pull down the data. So I don't know what all these are. Okay, and the most important part, this is the trend. Okay, the organic trend stripped off of seasonality. So what do we see here? It seems that the decline in the water level of Angat Dam, okay, so started around early January. Okay, so we experienced the water shortage around this time, but it has been downtrending since January. And notice that around Jan or Feb, so we have some favorable impact from seasonality. Maybe it wasn't as hot as that time. Okay, the weather wasn't as warm as that time. That's why it's been offsetting this downtrend. But when the hotter days came, okay, so there was nothing offsetting the downtrend, and that's when we began to feel the effect of this downtrend in the water supply. Okay. What could have caused? The question now is what could have caused this downtrend? Okay. If we look at when the El Nino was announced, so Pag-asa announced recently around Feb 20, they announced that a weak El Nino has started. Now, of course, El Nino doesn't just happen in an instant. When we talk of El Nino, of course, there are certain precursors to that. The days leading up to a weak El Nino would be hotter than usual. Maybe that's why, and it coincides with the downtrend. So perhaps we can say that this downtrend is caused by the weak El Nino. Okay, and this is for Angat Dam. Now, let's take a look at when the panic water hoarding supposedly start. Okay, so if the water interruption was announced March 4, then around that period, around March 5 to March 6, there should have been a dip in the outliers because that's a one-off event. Okay, but we don't see that in the data. Okay, so that means panic hoarders had nothing to do with this downtrend we're seeing. Okay, so in essence, if we strip off seasonality and outliers like the panic water hoarding event, after stripping off that, we see that the El Nino that might be causing the downtrend in the water level of Angat Dam. Okay, and the good news is that starting March, around mid-March 2019, trend of Angat Dam is already surpassing 2018 level. Okay, so maybe we're off to a better place, but that's just the trend. Of course, it still have seasonality to think about. Okay, so that's for Angat Dam. What about for La Mesa Dam? Okay, so take note that La Mesa Dam is where Manila Water gets its water supply from. So the trend we will be seeing in La Mesa Dam then is it could be specific to Manila Water. Okay, and do take note that it was Manila Water customers who experienced the massive water shortage. Okay, so Maynilad was a bit safe, although they also had water interruptions. Okay, so let's take a look at La Mesa data. Okay, so this is the water level in the La Mesa Dam, and we see that it seems to have it worse because 2019 water level has been below 2018 since the beginning of the year, unlike Angat Dam earlier. And performing the STL method, this is what we see. It's quite different from what we saw in Angat Dam. Okay, because if you see here, the downtrend started way earlier. For Angat Dam, it started January, but for La Mesa, it started way earlier, November 2018. Okay? So, it has been downtrending, and if we take a look at seasonality, seasonality only contributes 1 meter of water every day. So, it's not really very impactful. What's really, the story really here is this trend, okay? It's important to know what caused this trend. So again, we look at the El Nino. Well, it doesn't seem to be the culprit this time, okay? The El Nino started here or was announced here, but it's quite far, no? Okay. And again, nor are the panic hoarders. There's not much movement during that time. So it's not El Nino. It's not El Nino. It's not panic hoarders. So what could it be? Okay, what could it be that's causing this 2019 downtrend? Now, if we had water consumption data, that would have been a nice supplement to this analysis. But unfortunately, it's not available online. So I've scoured the internet. I couldn't find a data set that was granular enough to supplement this analysis. So at this point, we can just conclude that based on the objective picture, okay, the decline started in November 2018, way ahead for La Mesa Dam compared to Angat Dam, which started January 2019. So the question here is, what was different for La Mesa Dam that was not present in Angat Dam? Okay? So it wasn't the El Nino, because if it were, then it should have affected Angat Dam as well, because an El Nino isn't just concentrated in one area. Everyone experiences that. Okay? And it wasn't El Nino, it wasn't panic water hoarding. So the question now is, if it were an unforeseen increase in consumption, we won't know that at this point. So that is for further investigation. And I would think an increase in consumption would have been predicted ahead. So if this downtrend was predicted ahead, why did this still happen? Why did the water shortage still happen? The downtrend has started way back November 2018. It's already March. Why did the water shortage still happen if it was predicted ahead? Okay? And if it was predicted ahead, what was it, the lack of planning, or was it inefficient execution? So we don't know at this point, because as I have said, this is only from the standpoint of a concerned citizen. Okay? So I'll leave those questions in the table for now. Okay? So thank you for listening.